Well, fantastic Friday evening, everybody. I bet you thought we weren't going to be here. I bet you wrote us off. I bet you said they're not going to come on. They didn't put an ad out. Guess what, man? You're wrong. Welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Of course, sponsored by Morgan Trinkets. I'm going to be your host this evening. My name is Keith Brugman, man, but I'm not the only one. In fact, I'm not even the most important one. I'm the least important one, man. I got my fantastic co-hosts, sidekicks, whatever you want to call them, man. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them in. I'm going to start off with the judge this evening and say hello to Mr. Jody Moncrief, man. Welcome in, Jody. How you doing?
Doing good. Ready to talk Bronco football.
Man, a man of many, many, many words, Jody. I appreciate that, man. He is all business, ready to come in here, talk some Broncos football, man. And I am too, man. I'm sure you guys are all as well. Man, OTA's a wrap. Free agents, a little signing here and there, and maybe more to come. But of course, more to come with Mr. Trevor Rocket Man Salzman, a man of very many words. Maybe we were just trying to save some time with Jody so that we could allow Trevor to take it away. How you doing, Trevor?
I will not disappoint. No, I mean, again, great to be here on a great Friday night. Ready to talk Broncos. Mandatory minicamp just ended. Over a month from training camp, so I got some time to break everything down, and only 2 days of mandatory minicamp, so that was a little interesting. From Sean Payton canceled that day, the second day, at the end of the second day, and the quarterback situation a little interesting. Maybe a little bit tidbit of what we can expect going forward. Two quarterbacks in particular.
Yeah. I want to let's hit that right off the bat, man, because the first thing that I want to talk about is ending mandatory mini camps a day early. It wasn't that long ago that Nathaniel Hackett had a family day, and man, did he ever catch heat for not grinding it out to the very end. We have a new quarterback and we have a new system, and we better get every single minute logged in. And man, no way, we're not having a family day. But yet, right around the corner, here we are with Sean Payton saying, 2 days of mandatory OTAs. That's all good, man. Let's call it a wrap. Let's 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Jody, what are your thoughts, man? Am I way off base? Should Sean Payton be catching more heat over wrapping OTAs, mandatory OTAs a day early?
No, I don't have a problem with it. We already don't practice enough as it is. What's 1 day in the middle of June? All three quarterbacks are taking reps. It's only a few reps. I don't have a big problem with it.
All right, man. So
it's one
straight
less
up, basically you're saying I am overreacting. Go ahead, though.
One less Greg Dulcich to get hurt, I
guess. Yeah, absolutely. I guess one less day for that to happen. So along with maybe a few other guys, I guess you could maybe put in that mix. But Trevor, what are your thoughts, man? OTAs wrapping early. That's kind of a new one for me. I don't remember necessarily ever hearing this before.
Yeah, I think why we're seeing this, I think, is because they're only allowed to do so much during mandatory minicamp. There's no pads on, right? So it's just you're not able to get that sample size that you need to look for. I think the coaches up to this point, like with voluntary mini camps and now mandatory mini camps, it's kind of the same thing, honestly. It's just players are absolutely have to show up to mandatory mini camp because if not, they're going to get fined. But with in particular with training camp, they'll have pads on, so we'll get to see the running backs actually full force, the wide receivers be full force. I mean, everything you can learn more, I think, from training camp, and I think Sean Payton and the coaching staff learned enough to what they need to learn from a mandatory minicamp and voluntary minicamp that I don't think they need to learn anymore. There's no reason to go an extra day because you're going to get the same thing that you've been getting the past. Couple weeks that you've been getting. So I think they've seen enough of the sample size. Now it just needs to be what can this team do in pads. I think that's going to be important to these positional battles, many positional battles this Denver Broncos team has right now.
Agreed, man. You talked me off the ledge a little bit, man, because like I said, I was thinking, Bo Nix, every opportunity, every single snap. But from all reports, these guys went through that install through the not OTAs, but just the what am I thinking of? What was the first one?
Voluntary minicamp.
Voluntary minicamp. They go through the voluntary minicamp. So the install went really good. They reset it when it comes back to mandatory OTAs or mandatory minicamp. And from all reports, everything was clicking, looking good. The guys understood, right where they need to be. And the next step is to put it in pads. So if you've seen what you've seen, maybe we're okay. Maybe we're okay. You've talked me off the ledge, but I want to talk to some friends over here in the posse, man, real quick, because we got Ernie Mays coming in and saying, "Go Broncos country only." Hello, everyone. Well, hello to you, Mr. Ernie Mays. Always a fantastic supporter of the DBR, the Denver Bronco Roundup. We appreciate you so very much, man. Sean Payton is the boss, he says as well. And then we have Mr. Michael Ronquillo coming in on Facebook. Talk about fantastic supporters, a guy that's been there from the get, man. And we love and support you. Got big orange and blue hearts from Michael Ronquillo saying, "Good evening, Keith, Trevor, and Jody," clapping it up as well. Thank you so much, Michael. Scott's coming in, man. He's becoming a regular now over on YouTube saying, "Coach needs to get his other eye fixed so he doesn't misread a play," right? I appreciate that very much, Scott. And Michael coming in saying, "I give the offense a C, defense a C minus, and special teams a B minus." Well, hey, Michael, if you're going to come over here on Facebook as well and give us some love and give us some support and maybe do some offensive rankings really too early before we see the pads. Trevor, what are your offensive, defense, and special team rankings? Grades, I should say, not rankings.
I mean, again, it's so hard to see because we're not out there, so we're only going through off what certain media people are saying, and even then, I do with all due respect, I'm still kind of, skeptical of it because I need to see it with my own eyes. I respect and want to hear what other media people that get to see that OTAs, mandatory minicamp, voluntary minicamp, so on and so forth. I value their opinion, but again, I want to see it for myself. So right now, I would say I think I think it's all even right now because I think that it's yet to be determined where this team can go. You can only do so much, and like I just said before, you can only do so much when you're not in pads. It looks great when you're out there running in shorts and practice jersey and a helmet. But what is it going to look like when you have pads on? What is it going to look like against other teams? We're going to find out that test, training camp and in the preseason. That's the real test. All this other stuff coming up, all the mini camps and stuff, OTAs, that's just the warm up. But the actual test will be training camp and preseason and where this football team is at, and we'll get our answers, I think, of what we can expect going forward into the regular season.
All right, man. You heard it from Trevor. He gives them all an F. I'm just kidding. No, he says they're all even. Really not giving them a grade. Grades will be determined once training camp comes, according to Trevor. What do you think, Judge, Jody? What are your thoughts on this, man? Can you give some grades based on the talent that you see on the field, the talent that we saw picked up in the draft, the talent that you kind of expect to be played out? Can you give a grade for our fans, or are you in the same mindset as Trevor? It's all going to have to work out in training camp.
I'm kind of in the same mindset as Trevor. They didn't really show a whole lot. They just kind of, went through the motion. One thing that I wish that they would do is I wish the quarterback would throw with pads on, at least uppers. They've reports are Bo Nix has already, kind of got that drop down little motion, and when you throw pads on it, probably might be a little bit more low. Might be a little lower. Other than that, maybe Jaleel McLaughlin. He's been the big one. Sounds like he's first there, last to leave. Looks explosive, the whole nine. And one grade I'll give Greg Dulcich gets an F. I mean, he has not been on the field. He has not been on the. Still hurt. Something is up. I mean, he's had plenty of time from when he last played throughout the offseason to now, and he still is not on the field. That's major concerning to me. And if he's not out there day one of training camp, then we have big problems there, I think, with him.
That's a great transition. I'm going to get a couple other thoughts in, but I'm going to transition over from that. Oh my gosh. I thought Jody fell off a cliff there for a second. My goodness. Ernie Mays comes in and saying the offense an A, defense an A, special teams an A. Hey, he went on the opposite end of the spectrum, all A's rather than all F's, Trevor. You feeling good about that one? No. But, along those lines, I'm going to rank these guys pretty dang well because this is what I've seen. I've seen reports about across the NFL of rookie QBs coming in and struggling. not picking up the offense, not looking good in training camp. When that starts to happen, guess what? It's really tough to evaluate that wide receiver, that cornerback, that safety. If that quarterback isn't getting the ball out and it isn't looking good, or we have a guy on our roster that likes to run the ball rather than pass the ball, even on 7-and-7 in drills, doesn't help you evaluate any of the rest of your talent. I think we got a great evaluation of where our team is at prior to pads. So, I'll go ahead with that same even grade across the board, but I'm probably going to do like a B+. I feel these guys went out there and absorbed the playbook, know what they're doing, and they're prepared going into training camp rather than coming in with questions galore of we don't know even if we can get our offense off the ground. I think we have a chance. I think things are heading in the right direction. So it all could change, though. You're absolutely right. What both you and Jody and Trevor were saying, pads is what tells the story. And everything can look good when these guys are running around in shorts and they can understand, where they're supposed to be. And then they get blown up one time and, they're no longer the same guy out there that had all that confidence. You never know. So, man, it'll be interesting to see like 5.5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, when they finally hit the field and the pads come on. But yeah, tough to give grades, Michael, but I love the thought, man. I love the thought of, where are we? I think it's
one thing that bugs me.
Go ahead, buddy.
One thing that bugs me a little bit is how we were ranked, whatever it was last year, the 15th best roster, and minus about 4 guys, maybe. We're now the last ranked offense or roster in the league. I'm really confused, especially when people say Russ didn't fit this offense at all. I'll give you Lloyd Cushenberry. People wanted to bash Josie Jewell, and I'll give you Simmons. Other than that, what did we lose? We upgraded the D line massively compared to last year, and this roster is so. I don't understand how they rank, how you come up with rankings like that. I think the wide receiver room improved. You got Tim Patrick back. Josh Reynolds, that's a underrated signing. I think the running back room improved with drafting Estime. So I don't understand how you can fall that far, losing really three to 4 starters. I don't understand that.
That's a great point. And that's fair, man. Jody, to fall off a cliff for offense that was supposedly wasn't in sync, and the quarterback and the coach don't like each other, and they're working against each other in their schemes and systems that they like to run and utilize themselves, and all the heartache that we had, and 3 or 4 guys go, including part of that heartache, and all of a sudden we drop to the very bottom. Doesn't quite make sense, man. But rankings are rankings, and people, hey, if nothing else, they got us talking, man. They got us all fired up. Kind of like Clayton coming in and saying, hey guys, smash that like and share button, man. Appreciate you, Clayton. We were just you weren't here just a few moments ago. We were talking about those guys who has given us a fantastic support, guys and gals who have given us fantastic support from the get. Another one here with Clayton, and we appreciate you so much, Clayton. Kind of like Patrick coming in and saying, aloha, boys, all C's until Nick's first touchdown drive to win in the 4th. Then I'll go overboard. I like it, man. That'll be exciting, man. It'll come. We're excited for it. We got Phil coming in and saying, good evening, Keith, Trevor, and Jody. Offense, defense, special teams, ask me after 5 weeks. 5 weeks about training camp, about when they start putting those pads on. I think we've all kind of come to that agreement, and great point, Phil. Talk about a great supporter as well. You guys are amazing. Clayton says, nothing like watching the Brewers game on TV outside and topping off the night with you guys. All you guys do such a great job. Thank you for all the hard work, man. Thank you, Clayton. Appreciate that, man. That's awesome, man. Patrick giving us love on Facebook and then switching over to YouTube and saying aloha on YouTube. So thank you from the mainland all the way out to Hawaii. I appreciate it, Patrick. Ernie May says, this is a new year. We will dominate new players with new chemistry wins. And lastly, get this one in. Phil says, sorry, I started to learn to play golf. Hard to make it back, for the show sometimes, man. Well, let us know how it's coming, man. Tough sport, man. It's one of the most difficult I ever tried to pick up. I'd rather almost go do anything else, it seems like, than play golf. That little ball staring at me can just drive me insane. So, especially after I take 2 or 3 cuts and it's still sitting there. But that being
I have a
said,
question for you guys.
yeah, let's hit it, man.
Someone just brought up we need to see touchdowns from Bo Nix. How soon do you need to see touchdowns from Bo Nix to be excited? Me personally, that doesn't really matter to me because you can get a touchdown like you got from little Jordan Humphreys last year on a huge run late in the season. I need to see Bo Nix command the offense, keep drives alive, and the touchdowns. Those will come with the other stuff. I don't really care in the beginning 2-3 games if he's only throwing 1-2 touchdowns. If we're keeping drives alive and he was 70 plus comp in college. If he's somewhere there and keeping drives alive, that's what I want to see.
Trevor, what do you think, man? Drives alive, big touchdown numbers. What are you looking to see to get you excited about Bo Nix?
Yeah, I don't expect the big touchdown numbers either, Jody. I absolutely agree with you. I think it's going to be, how does Bo Nix look? How does he command the offense? And then what Sean Payton wants, get the football out quick. How can he get the football out quick to his playmakers? That's the biggest thing here as well. And just how is the offense moving the football? Are they able to finish drives? I think there's just so many different factors into it. It's not just touchdowns. It's not just yards. There's multiple different factors that you need to look at. You look at the stats, but you also he needs to pass the eye test. That's what's more important. And that's at least what Denver needs to get out this year is. I mean, you have, again, this roster has a chance to possibly turn over a little bit going into next year. You have a lot of free agents that, again, that might not be on the team. They're playing for a job next year or this coming up season, but they're playing for a job possibly for another team for the Broncos. So I think at the very least, Bo Nix, you have to know what you have in him. And no matter what your record is, if you're a playoff team or not, but you have to get your quarterback position filled, and you have to make sure that he's your franchise guy. And there's multiple different factors into knowing that with Bo Nix, not just touchdowns or yards or anything in particular.
I'm in 100% agreement, but I can tell you that first epic pass by Bo Nix that goes for a touchdown, especially if it's when it's in Mile High Stadium, that's going to be something for this fan base, right? It's exciting to I don't know, be behind your quarterback, you know what I mean? And believe in your quarterback. And it seems like that first big touchdown at home means so much, I'm excited for that moment, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm excited to see that, Yes, I want to see him command, and drive down the field. I want him to be able to sustain. I think one of the biggest stats I'm going to be really looking down at this year is third down conversion. I think that's one place that we've definitely struggled, and that's a place that we could point to easily as why we've improved from on an offensive standpoint is if we can improve that number. So, I'm just, I don't know. I'm excited for Bo Nix. I'm excited for the experiment, and hopefully this experiment is a healthy and good one because we don't need a failing.
Yeah, no. Again, that's a great point, Keith. Again, and I also want to kind of point out, like, Sean Payton took Bo Nix 12th overall, and he ate $85 million of Russell Wilson's dead cap. You're paying Russell Wilson $53 million this season. So we need to see, I think, what Sean Payton sees in Bo Nix. How does he fit Sean Payton's offense? That's something to watch. If you want something to watch, how does the transition from Russell Wilson to Bo Nix back to the Sean Payton offense? Does it change it much at all? And what's the fit? Like, that's what I think if we want to look at anything and learn anything from this season is what the Bo Nix fits with Sean Payton for this season and going forward. I
agree, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like some just like, hey, man, I can't wait for fancy touchdowns guy. You know what I mean? I'm excited for the development, and we need to see it. It needs to be long-term. It needs to be sustained. It needs to be what Sean Payton saw so that we can have some faith in both Sean Payton and in Bo Nix. I get all that, man. I'm just ready for some excitement in Broncos country, and hopefully that rally behind, that rookie quarterback, that guy we took number 12, that guy that's going to sustain us for years to come. But that being said, I want to jump back into the chat just really quick, guys. Pearl's coming in saying, sorry, I am late. I was grooming Monty. No worries. You can come in anytime you want, guys. And remember, Facebook, YouTube, you can go ahead and you can, rewind and watch us again and watch us from the very beginning. So don't forget about that, man. Also, sorry, jumping through some comments and making sure that I'm getting everything here. Scott's coming in saying minimal mistakes will keep the fans happy. Minimal interceptions / sacks. Yeah, agreed, man. I think, hey, it's not hey, we're all excited, but you're right. Happiness, that sustained drives that I was talking about, that's kind of included in these minimal interceptions and sacks. That has to be involved within that. Sorry, Phil. Hopefully there's no feedback. If you guys are having feedback, please let us know if anybody else is. Oh, what? Now it's gone. All right, perfect. Thank you, Phil. And by the way, Phil, trying to watch multiple feeds. I said I was kind of looking at the comments. It came to my attention. Phil came in and dropped 200 stars, and we like to always identify those who come in and make a donation to the show, man. It really does help us out. We hope to do bigger and better things in the future, and it's things like this that help push those ideas a little bit closer to the finish line. So thank you so much, Phil. Appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you dropping the stars over on Facebook. So
I have one talking.
Wait, just 1 second. I want to get to something real quick because I told you I was in a transition like 5-10 minutes ago, and I didn't get to do it. No, it's all good because I think you brought up a good point in Greg Dulcich, right? And his need to go out there and be something because it's overdue. It's too long, and it's a little nerve-wracking that we didn't get to see him all the way through mandatory OTAs. That being said, maybe a little under the radar, there was a tight end brought in, one Felipe Franks that was once quarterback / tight end with the Atlanta Falcons. I figured we could talk a little bit about that, and then an Atlanta Falcon that was brought in, a former Atlanta Falcon that was brought in that we did end up signing as well. So, Jody, what do you think about Felipe Franks? And if you want to go a little bit further, we could also talk about Andre Smith as well. So, linebacker that was brought in, the former Atlanta Falcon as well. But what are your thoughts, Jody? I'll start with you.
Both depth pieces. I don't think Felipe Franks is competing for a starting tight end job here. I think if you wanted to put money down right now, Lucas Kroll's your tight end one, and it's probably not even close. I'm not even sure, to be honest, that Greg Dolson makes this roster. He's got to prove that he can get on the field. One, I don't even care about staying healthy at this point. Just get on the field. And then Andre Smith, I think that's another depth signing. Denver had to do something once Drew Sanders went down. That really hurt him. Cody Barton, he's an average linebacker, and all the talent that Jonas Griffith has, he's been hurt the last 2 years, kind of like Tim Patrick. So until he can stay healthy and prove that, just like with Greg Dulcich, that he can stay on the field and stay healthy, they had to do something there. Neither guy, I think, competes for a starting job, but they are good depth pieces. And with other guys ahead of them getting hurt, they might very well make this roster.
Very good, man. I'll get back to your question. I know that you had a thought as well, but I want to get up to Trevor on the same thought. Felipe Franks, Andre Smith, do either one of those signings, or I'm sorry, tryout and the signing of Andre Smith, does that raise any level of concern about the roster and the depth of those two positions for you, Trevor?
With Franks, I like his size, 6'6", 234 pounds. I mean, that's, again, Kroll 6'6". So I think anytime you can add size and speed to the tight end room, you absolutely want to take a chance on that. I agree with Jody, though. I don't know if he makes this roster or not, just because we've heard a lot. Again, I don't know this for sure. We've heard it from other media outlets is Lucas Kroll's balling out. But again, take it with a grain of salt because, in my opinion, because he's, it's shorts, practice jersey, helmet. We're not seeing him in pads yet. Let's see it in pads. Let's see it in preseason. Then we can talk about it with Lucas Kroll, being that tight end and being that number one tight end. But with Franks, I think, again, if he makes his roster, great. I think it'd be a great story, right? Guy transitioning from a quarterback to a tight end, but he's transitioned to a new position. I just don't know that that's a guy that lands on the active roster. Maybe a practice squad player, possibly, and they can develop him for a year. That's possible. With Smith, I think he's a special teamer, honestly. I am very concerned with the middle linebacker position. I think it's something that's one of the team's weaker positions right now. And so Not a big fan of the Cody Barton signing. I think that he's a good run stopper, good tackler, but not very good in coverage. I think you're losing something with Jose Jewell there. So I think that that's a concern for me. Jonas Griffith hasn't played in 2 years. So, again, Smith, special teams has a chance. I think with Franks, maybe a practice squad player.
Yeah, it's really concerning for Drew Sanders, man, because this tells that story, I guess. This tells the story of the Andre Smith signing tells me more about the story of Drew Sanders, and it doesn't look good, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I think it's going to be longer term. I think it's a bigger injury than we've maybe been led to believe. And it is a little bit of a scary room. I love Jonas Griffith. I think that he does have all the ability to play that position, but you're right. He has a hard time staying on the field. And, Cody Barton, great run stuffer, but it seems like what we did is we really traded middle linebacker for defensive line help, and we got stronger in one and weaker in the other as far as that position is concerned. Tight end, and this is just my thought, and I want to get your thoughts, guys, on this, and then we'll take a little break, talk about a fantastic sponsor here. But Sean Payton talked a lot about how he misled everybody in lead up to the draft, and I'm tinfoil hat here. Is Sean Payton, in all of his accolades of different guys, is he spreading a little bit thick for other reasons, whether he's hiding talent that's below that person or trying to get people interested in that particular piece of or talent? Because I'll tell you, he's been talking about, especially when it comes to, let's say, the running back room, for instance, in one of Jaleel McLaughlin. This is a room that's super, super stacked, and we'll have to probably figure out a way to move on from somebody that we'd really like to probably try to keep on this roster. And if we did, sure would be nice to get some compensation. So am I all tinfoil hat about this? Is Jaleel McLaughlin as good as advertised, or is Sean Payton spreading a little bit thick? I'll start with Trevor on this one, man.
Yeah, I think Jaleel McLaughlin is as good as advertised. I think he's better. I love his work ethic, and I just love that his motivation. It seems like he's got something to prove this year. They had the home run derby at Coors Field the other day, and he got a chance. I think Andrew Mason of Denver Sports got a chance to interview him a little bit, and he talked about just being motivated. He said that he watched his film last year. He had to do half the things that he wanted to do. So I think he's just a guy that, again, Sean Payton has raved about being the first one in the building, last one out. Kind of mentality, and I just really love that with McLaughlin. I think McLaughlin has the speed that you want, but again, we have to remember Sean Payton, he uses multiple running backs. He doesn't just carry one load with one guy for the whole time. We can name so many different running backs in the past that he's used multiple different running backs. So there's a chance that this team carries 3 running backs. I mean, in general, and uses them quite often, splits their reps. That's what I mean by keeping 3 running backs per se, because some of them will play special teams and stuff like that possibly too. But I mean, I think McLaughlin is a guy that has a lot of talent. I really do. I really think he's got a lot of talent, and the mindset's there, in my opinion, for him to be great. It's just, again, who's his counterpart? Is that Estime? Is that P. Ryan? Is that Javonte Williams? We will, find out. Is it Watson that they brought in, an undrafted free agent? But I'm high on McLaughlin probably more than any running back in this running back room.
All right, man. Well, I guess Trevor says I'm spreading it a little bit thick. Jody, is it getting deep in here on my end, or is it true, man? Do you think that Sean Payton really likes all the guys he's been talking well about? Oh, microphone.
I think he does. Tight end, for example, he had a chance to get an All-American in Brock Bowers at pick 12, and he passed on that. So he has to be happy with so he has to be excited or intrigued with something that he has on this roster at tight end to pass up that type of tight end. And then running back, he went out and drafted. I feel a little bit different at running back because he did go out and draft Audric Estime when he had 2 running backs on this roster already that are kind of the same style of running back as Estime. So that's a little concerning for those 2 guys. Why, if you have faith in those 2 guys, why are you wasting a pick when you need so much help at linebacker and tight end and other positions on another depth piece at running back? So I think it says wonders, especially a running back, that he doesn't have true faith in P. Ryan and Williams.
Mm. Well, I can feel that. I can feel that, man. Trevor, I see that you have a counterpoint or a thought on this as well, and then we'll move into some other ideas. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about the tight end room. My thing is with Kroll. Again, there's a lot of hype around Lucas Kroll right now. My thing is with Kroll. What's the difference between Lucas Kroll last year and Lucas Kroll this year? Because again, he was on Denver's roster last year for the second half of the season. You picked him up. What's the difference between the two players? We all seen that touchdown pass that he wasn't able to go up and get in the Houston game. So it's just like, what's the change? What's the difference? I would be very curious to know that. And you re-signed Adam Troutman, to a decent deal. I mean, that's the thing. If you thought Kroll was special, you wouldn't need to go out there and get a tight end this year. So I'm cautious with Lucas Kroll, but I think McLaughlin, he does believe in it. Some of these guys, I do think he's overhyping a little bit, and it's yet to be determined how well they're going to be. Kroll is the guy that's catching my eye a little bit. If he can be great, that would be great for Denver. I just don't know how great he can be, and I wonder, Dulcich isn't practicing. They must still see something in Dulcich because he's still on this roster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true. That's true. I like that. Sean Payton has talked a lot about making sure you don't get on the NFL train, the train that tells you, what you're supposed to do and, what this guy's rated. And he even talked about it, as far as, taking Bo Nix at number 12, the NFL train would have said not to do that. Trevor's not getting on the Sean Payton train and buying into the whole Kroll quite yet. But
I buy into Lucas Kroll.
Go ahead, buddy.
I buy into Lucas Kroll because either Sean Payton and the Broncos in general are clueless as to Greg Dulcich or didn't expect him to be this injured, or they knew he was this injured and knew what they had behind him and were okay with that. And I think it's that one. They have said nothing about Dulcich. I think they know that this is a long or more of an injury than they want to lead on, or he'd be out there because he has not practiced. He's barely played, let alone practice. And just to say we're just going to stash him makes no sense. So not addressing that position at all, and drafting a position like running back when you already had 3 running backs here last year that all played. That's why I think that Sean Payton was more than fine with Lucas Kroll. And I mean, he's got rapport with Adam Troutman. He's a saint and he does nothing well, but everything good and whatever the saying is. So, I mean, he's just a Sean Payton guy. So that's how I feel about Lucas Kroll. He was more than fine with Lucas Kroll because I don't think that they are surprised that Greg Dulcich is still not practicing, and I don't think it's a sitting him out precaution because you've seen nothing from him. He's got to get on the field and show something.
Yeah, if you want to talk about going out there in free agency, addressing it in the draft, tight end was pretty much left untouched. It goes to say, like you said, maybe a little bit of faith in what we have in Lucas Kroll and the what he can do in this upcoming season. Nate Atkins, just another name that you kind of got to keep in the mind, that fullback tight end type of guy. He's back again this year as well. We'll see if he takes, any consideration in as far as this tight end is concerned, especially like we said, once we put Patty in. I know that we're not buying into everything that Sean Payton is been saying, but guys, I'll tell you what I am buying. I'm buying into Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Pottery, and Estate Gold wholesale prices. 33, probably more closer to 34 years experience now in the business. Once a nationwide company, but now they've kind of slowed down a little bit, and they concentrate on one particular area, and it's an area that you all know. It's northern Colorado, southern Wyoming, and they have shows they're going to left, right, and otherwise all summer long. So again, all that Southwest jewelry, all that estate gold at wholesale prices, all that Southwest pottery. You can check it out over at morgantrinkets.com, and there's a pretty good selection over there. But if you don't see what you're looking for, just message them. They have a huge catalog, and they'll dig it out. They'll find the piece you're looking for. I almost guarantee it. Also, shipping is free on any purchase over $50, and they transact through PayPal. But if you catch them at one of those amazing shows that they're at all summer long, go over to Morgan Trinkets to figure out exactly when those shows are happening. Then they transact with all credit cards as well. So check out Morgan Trinkets. Again, Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices. And by the way, sterling silver, and it starts at $10 all the way up to $2,000, guys. So beautiful, beautiful pieces. Check out Morgan Trinkets today, guys. I'm going to hit the comments real quick before we get into a little bit more discussion because, well, we need to. We need to say hello to the posse a little bit. We have Roy Osborne coming in and saying, "Good evening, guys. I'm late, but it's been a long day. Time to finally relax, man." Well, I'm coming in here all fired up, even though I had a long day too, man, because I'm fired up whenever I get to talk Broncos on a Friday night. It's one of my most fun things to do. I almost used really bad English there. So Scott's coming in and says, I feel that he gets extra depth as a just in case to cover injured players, recovery, lack of confidence, i.e. Javante's knees and Dulcich's foot. So, and then we got the fantastic Kenny Kirkpatrick coming in saying, good evening to the incredible trio this evening at DBR. Right here at work, but we are, starting to think now Kroll might step up. I have lots of faith in him from an outside perspective. And then, guys, I want to get to this one. Pearl came in. If you guys don't know, those listening, watching, Pearl is the owner of Morgan Trinkets. I'll drop the link here, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because it's been busy for me. I'm hoping you guys had a little bit more time. She came in with a question, and she wants to know, how are the other QBs that were drafted this year doing? I know I'm just kind of throwing it off the cuff, but I'll go to Jody first. Have you heard anything about the Caleb Williams, the JJ McCarthy's, the Michael Penixes? Who else was taken before? With Drake May. Any of those guys, man. What have you heard anything? How they're doing? Are they coming along like Bo Nix?
No, I've really heard nothing, to stand out and say, "Oh, this guy's just looks amazing." Sounds like Caleb Williams was struggling to begin with, but like we said with Nix and everyone else, it's early, and if you take Peyton at his word, Nix should be ahead of all these other guys. He's 24, whatever, 60-some starts in college. He should be ahead of some of these other guys. I mean, Nix is 24. What's Drake May, 20? I mean,
Yeah.
So there's a huge age gap there. But no one. I have not heard anything of anyone just making incredible plays and just looking amazing so far.
All right, Trevor. Like I said, I haven't had my ear to the ground. If I have, it's been tuned in to orange and blue, man. Have you heard anything else across the league?
I mean, other than Caleb Williams being the starter, named the starter already for the Chicago Bears, not much. Drake May, there's a little hype around him. As we just talked about the Broncos, mandatory minicamp. These guys are throwing in shorts and shorts and a practice jersey and a helmet. It's just yet to be determined how these guys are going to do in pads. So I think we'll hear more hype, and maybe some guys are fans and analysts are down on when we see them getting pads. Just right now, I would just take it with caution right now. Anything that is said about these guys, again, we want to believe, but we need to make sure that these guys can do it in pads first, and that's gonna be the biggest thing. And do it on an NFL practice field. Drake May, I know, he's got Tom Brady in his ear quite a bit, which is good, I think, for Drake May. But yeah, I haven't heard a ton about the other guys. Some of these guys may not make a huge impact. McCarthy, Penix. They may not make a huge impact this season, possibly Drake May as well. So we may see three quarterbacks in the first round that were taken may end up starting for their teams. So yet to be determined. We'll see when training camp comes out, when preseason comes about, but not a whole lot of hype or down on any of these rookie quarterbacks so far.
Yeah. Like we said, it'll all come through in the wash, man. Yeah, I'm starting to hear that feedback too, everybody. I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from.
I think it's off Jody's computer.
Oh, Jody, can you turn it down a little bit? All right, buddy. I appreciate it, man. All right. Got Phil coming in, man. He says, I got a feeling we will be surprised how well our linebackers perform this year because of our improved D line will make a big difference. I'll throw it over to Jody, man. This is a great discussion, man. Whether we talk about Blackson, Roach has been getting a lot of good praise. Our John Franklin Myers from the Jets as well. All big upgrades along that front line. Is that going to be able to maybe hide the woes, or even maybe highlight those linebackers because of how well that line's doing up front?
Maybe a little bit, but we need to find someone to pair with Alex Singleton, and that, I mean, to me, that's our biggest question mark on this team. Like we said, Jonas Griffith hasn't played in 2 years. Cody Barton was a rotational starter, not great in coverage. For whatever you thought of Josie Jewell, he was the play caller, and he was a 100 tackle guy, and I mean, he made plays. He was not the best linebacker, but I mean, grass isn't always greener on the other side, and we're about to find out if that's true or not, because I don't know that. I definitely don't think we upgraded with Cody Barton. And Jonas Griffith is a question mark. If he stays healthy and shows what he's capable of, then maybe. But until he shows that, it's a massive question mark. And I don't know that D-line can fix all that.
Fair enough. Trevor, your quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, stopping the run, I think this team will be fine, because I think Barton and Singleton can do a good job of it. In coverage, that's where I'm really worried about this team. And that's from a safety position, too, with Brandon Jones. I don't think he's a better cover than Justin Simmons either. So then you have Barton, who I think is a downgrade from Josie Jewell, who was better in coverage, in my opinion, as well. So I think the linebacking core, the middle linebacking core, is going to struggle. But I think, again, we have to keep this in mind. Denver only has so many resources they could use this offseason. You ate $85 million with releasing Russell Wilson. $53 million this season. You only had so much you could do as far as building this roster. We have to keep that in mind. So would Denver like to do more? Probably. Sure. Yeah, probably. Would I like to spend more money? Yeah, probably. But they couldn't, because of the cap and where they're at, having to eat all that money just to release Russell Wilson. That's why it's so important. Sean Payton and Bo Nix have to connect, because you ate a ton of money having to do that, and it affects the rest of your roster when how you team build.
Trevor, Jody, you're wrong. I want to agree with Phil. I'm just kidding. I know, I'm just giving you a bad time. No one's wrong. It's all opinions here. But, I agree. I'm more in agreement with Phil. I think with all the upgrades that we've had, from all the reports of how the edge rushers have looked, I think we're going to be getting a lot more pressure on these quarterbacks than we haven't ever got before. And all of a sudden, those linebackers aren't out there trying to hang in coverage, as no pressures on the quarterback, and they get to run wide open across the middle, because linebackers can't really keep up with tight ends. But I guess what? If all of a sudden that push is happening up the middle, if all of a sudden that edge is coming around, all of a sudden that quarterback doesn't have time to just wait for things to run away from linebackers and open up, our linebackers, I think, are going to look much, much better this year. And I'm going to agree with Phil on this one, man, because I think we'll see finally some value against out of a defensive line front that just really, whether it be edge rushers up the middle, anything, it hasn't really been all that impressive. I think that's going to turn the page this year. I think it's going to be a little bit different, man. Jody, Trevor, guess what, man?
How would you guys have felt?
D-Rock's in the house, man. Fellas, hey, D-Rock's in the house. Hey, good to see you, D-Rock. What do you got, Jody? Go right ahead, man.
How would you guys have felt if we would have signed Josie Jewell to the contract he got in Carolina? Would you feel we overpaid, or how would you have felt about that?
I probably would have felt that way. I think that he got a pretty big contract in Carolina, and I think that, maybe I feel like I'm getting old, but it wasn't that long ago that everyone's like, oh, man, hopefully Josie Jewell can actually stay healthy. Hopefully Josie Jewell can be on the field. I'm not all that excited about Josie Jewell. And then all of a sudden he's gone. It's like, oh, we lost Josie Jewell, man. It's the end of the world. It's like, it seemed like in 1 year he went from meh to irreplaceable in some people's minds. So for me, if he would have got that contract, yeah, I think that's just a little bit too steep for me. Trevor, what are your thoughts on it?
It just, again, I wouldn't have went the Josie Jewell route. I think Peyton Wilson, a guy in the draft that I really liked, and he was sitting there for Denver to go up and trade for it. That's one that I think is gonna sting this team. I think it possibly could if Peyton Wilson ends up panning out. That's a guy that I look in particular. I don't think it's necessarily Josie Jewell that hurts me as far as, well, they didn't address middle linebacker. I just don't think they did. They picked the right guy to replace Josie Jewell. I don't think Cody Barton's much of an upgrade over Jewell. I don't think he's an upgrade at all over Josie Jewell. Maybe stopping the run, but in coverage, he's just not. And Alex Singleton, 80% completion percentage last season. So I just, that's why it's so hard for me to just be okay with this team in coverage. And teams will take advantage of that because yes, this team upgraded the defensive line, but what's to stop teams from getting the ball out quick against his linebacking core and against his safety core and not letting these guys set the edge and get to the quarterback? I mean, it's just these teams are going to adjust to it. So again, I think it goes back to the whole Russell Wilson situation and Denver having to eat all that cap. They weren't able to fill all the holes that they wanted to probably this year. That's why this next offseason, you got to see what you can do this season and find the players that belong on this roster and the players that don't, you turn over and you have more cap next year, cap flexibility to do more, bring in more guys and fill in more holes. This year, it's a lot of rotational players, guys that didn't get a lot of time and need to be proven, need to prove what they can do on the field.
Man, not making me excited. He's like, Trevor is going to be a great GM someday. I can tell it. I can feel it. It's in my bones. Gotta say hello to Richie Rich. Richie Rich coming in over on YouTube. Appreciate it very much. First time I've ever seen that name up on here. Appreciate you jumping in. Denver Bronco Roundup. By the way, when you jump in, you comment, guess what? Automatically part of the posse, man. So welcome to the posse, Richie Rich. Appreciate you joining the show, man. And he's coming in. I'll just throw it up here because he came in right after that. He says, we already have a huge cap available for next year. Huge cap availability with big contracts that we expect to need to be signed in Quinn Miners and PS2. So we'll see exactly what that looks like. Once those contracts kind of pan out. I don't think it's going to be as much money as we would hope, but I think we'll have a little bit of spending money and be able to do a little bit of fun stuff next year, which will be nice. Get out from underneath that rock. Not D-Rock, who's saying, Richie, what's up, bud? Appreciate you guys coming in, man. One last thing, at least, that I wanted to get to, guys, before we get out and get off this show. A lot has been talked about with Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton did end up coming in and making it the mandatory minicamp. And one of the things that he said is, hey, I think we're getting some plans together. I think a few of us are going to go ahead. We're going to meet up. We're going to go ahead and do some throwing, maybe have a few dinners together, get to know each other. It's now kind of come out that is all planned. That's going to be happening. And it's Jarrett Stidham that's going ahead and is going to be leading this little meeting up. What are your thoughts about this being a Jarrett Stidham meetup and not a Bo Nix meetup? Does that say anything? Is that anything in those tea leaves? I'll go ahead and I'm going to go to Jody first, man.
I think it's smoke and mirrors, to be honest. Like I've said, I think Jarrett Stidham really is a wasted roster spot and a wasted whatever $5 million in the cap that you could save to upgrade at another position. Is Jarrett Stidham that much better than what Zach Wilson can offer? I don't think so. And the upside, even if you think Jarrett Stidham is better, currently right now the upside is so much greater for Zach Wilson at a zero cost. I think it's just one. It's if he truly gets first team reps come training camp and different things, I think it's just wasted snaps on him that Bo Nix could use. So I don't think that it means that much.
All right, man. No worries from Jody. Trevor, I got to get your thoughts on it as well, and I'll have you fix your. Thank you. I think you muted your. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So again, for me, I think Jarrett Stidham's the veteran. He's the veteran quarterback in this room, right? Out of all these guys, Zach Wilson, Bo Nix, he's a veteran. So I'm not surprised that he's getting these workouts together. Bo Nix, I'm sure, is going to be a big part of that as well as he needs to be. I think doesn't look good when you don't get your teammates together and throw with them. So I'm sure, again, that we just kind of heard a little bit tidbit to the media, but privately, I'm sure these guys are connecting more than we think they are. Again, Cortland Sutton talked to Bo Nix night one as soon as he was drafted. So I think they have a tighter ship and tighter relationship than people think. So I don't think Jared Stidham's a wasted roster spot, though, because I think Zach Wilson is just, and from everything we've heard so far, and again, let's take it with a grain of salt because we're hearing it from people that are there, and with all due respect to them, we all need to see it with our eye in training camp and in the preseason. That's important. But I think Jared Stidham can be a nice veteran presence for this team behind Bo Nix, and he can help season Bo Nix a little bit more. And with Zach Wilson, I think Zach Wilson just needs a little bit more of football rehab. I think he needs a full year of it. And who's to say that Zach Wilson can't have a full season of football rehab and come back, maybe resign in Denver and be Bo Nix's backup for 2025? That's just something that should absolutely be on the table. I think Jared Stidham does bring something to this team. If Bo Nix and Jared Stidham are tied neck and neck, you got to give it to the rookie. I think Bo Nix should start week 1 if that's the case. But again, we're not there, so we can't see it yet. We will see it though here in due time.
Guys, I wish I had Albert Mile High Dutchy here tonight, man, because I'm telling you what, we've had so many new faces, new names. I just got to jump over to the posse really quick, man. Recognize a few people. Jody, I saw you unmute your mic. I know you got a thought there, so I'll let you run on that in just a moment. But I got to say hello to John Presley coming over on Facebook saying, how's everybody doing, man? I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday night. It's Denver Bronco football. This is one of my favorite evenings to talk some football. I got the Judge. I got the Rocket Man. We have a ton of fun every Friday night. By the way, check out Tuesday night at 7:15 p.m. as well. I have a few names. Like I said, Big E Broncos coming in saying, how's everybody doing tonight? And, man, like I said, doing fantastic. Good to see you. A name I don't recognize. Hopefully you're new. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But fantastic to see you. And hope you're doing well, man. How are you doing, Big E Bronco? That's the question. We have a few other questions in here and some thoughts and ideas, man. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll let Jody get his thought and idea that he had in here as well. And then I'm going to throw these other ones up on the screen before we get out of here. Jody, what do you have to say, man?
I don't even care if Stidham, say, wins this quarterback battle. As long as Bo Nix doesn't fall flat on his face and he looks decent, he should be the starter. There is nothing to gain by starting Jared Stidham. This is not like a Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, who was an established, true veteran, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Jared Stidham has 4 starts. He is not you can say he's a veteran, but he is not a true veteran quarterback in this quarterback room. So as long as Bo Nix doesn't fall flat on his face, I don't really care if Stidham's numbers look better and it's leaning towards Stidham. That doesn't matter to me. It needs to be Bo Nix. That's your future, and him sitting behind Stidham does nothing, in my opinion.
Sounds like Jody's putting Stidham right in with Josh Rosen. Hey, that's fantastic. I'm glad he got some starts. But that being said, man, I want to keep this to 30 seconds or less, or maybe a minute or less. We have a little bit more time, but I'll throw it over to Trevor first because Richie Rich came in with this question first, and he says, you guys keep mentioning the interior defensive line pressure. Who is going to get that pressure exactly, in your opinion? Who's going to bring it, man? Who do you think it's going to be, Trevor? And I'll throw it over to Jody after you, man.
Well, I think it's not just going to come from the interior defensive line, but I think DJ Jones, he's got to be better this year. He's got to be better as far as just stopping the run and getting after the quarterback. But it's gonna open up your edge rushers to do more. Denver had one of the most highly blitzed defenses last year, and it was for a reason. Their defensive line wasn't very good, so it's going to open up Zach Allen. It's going to open up some of these other edge rushers: Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning, Nick Benito, even Jonah Ellis if he gets a chance to get in there. So it's going to open up a lot more than just your interior defensive line. It's going to open up your edge rushers and your other defensive linemen. Jonathan Franklin Myers, not forget about him either. It's just so big. Bringing these bodies in there is going to help defensive line. Not only it's going to help your edge rushers, which is really, really important. These guys got to step up, and they can't just be relied upon. As we've seen last year, they struggled to get to the quarterback at times last year, and they weren't the greatest. So helping this defensive line get better, and have Roach and have DJ Jones coming in here and stepping in, I think it's definitely going to help. Jonathan Franklin Myers as well. It's going to help multiple different positions and not just one in particular, and that's the interior defensive line. Because interior defensive linemen, most of the time, other than Chris Jones, those guys are stopping the run. Your defensive linemen, your edge rushers, the guys that get on for the quarterback. Of course, if you can have both with your interior defensive line, you definitely would like to, though.
Very good, man. It's not the sum of one; it's the sum of all, according to Trevor. Man, I like that. Jody, what are your thoughts, man? Who's going to be the guy? Answer Richie Rich for us, man. Who's going to be the guy that's going to get that pressure up the middle?
To me, the key is John Franklin Meyer. I mean, that's a massive upgrade over Jonathan Harris, and that frees up two guys. That frees up Zach Allen and DJ Jones. I mean, Zach Allen, what he finished was 6.5 sacks last year. I expect the same, maybe more. But
Mm-hmm.
the key is John Franklin Myers for me. That is a massive underrated trade that we made for basically nothing, and it is a huge upgrade over Jonathan Harris. That is where the key is, and that takes pressure off of DJ Jones. Takes pressure off of Zach Allen. Or that's the key right there for me. So that's where I think it all starts right there. Is right with John Franklin Myers.
John Franklin Myers has come in and turned some heads and gotten some praise. The two names that I was really excited about were the two names that we got right off the bat, and that was Roach and Blackson. And Roach has gotten some of that praise as well. I think Roach is going to be a big, big piece that's going to be able to push that pocket, push it up the middle, not allow those quarterbacks to step up like they did last year, and not have that comfort. So I'm looking forward to Roach now. It doesn't seem like Blackson is nearly taken off, at least through these OTAs and mandatory mini camps as of yet. So,
But I will piggyback off of Trevor. Like Roach, Roach helps you if you can stop the run and not let it be a sieve like it was last year. That allows your D line to get pressure.
Yeah.
Teams didn't have to throw the ball in Denver because they were running for 6, 7, 8 yards a chunk.
Yeah.
They could just run all over Denver. So there was no getting pressure for this D line because they couldn't stop the run. Stop the run first, and then you can go pressure the quarterback.
Same with your edge rushers. Also, guys, by the way, we're forgetting one name, and it's easy to forget. Razarike. He's still on this roster. It's a guy that we should still keep in mind as a guy that could make an impact on this roster. And you hope would at least push for a depth piece and maybe be a backup at least. Again, if anything else, you're getting even better there with Razarike. But a guy that's missed last year, if he can be a guy that can get in there and at least compete with Roach and give this again competition. That's one I have a question down the line for you guys before we end the show. But Razarike is a name that definitely I want to keep in mind going forward as well.
All right. Well, hit your question, man. I'm going to scroll through some comments, give some praise to some of those people that we might not be able to maybe announce on the screen while you're getting your question out. And then we'll get to that answer and maybe one more question out of the posse.
So my question to you guys is, again, Jody, I'll go to you first. Sean Payton seems like he's kind of switched his attitude this year. He's kind of admitted to the media. What's the biggest reason for Sean Payton's attitude to switch from last year to this year? Seems like he's very excited about this team. I have an answer. I think I have an answer to this question, but I definitely am curious on again with you guys in the posse, what you guys think. Why Sean Payton's attitude kind of just has flipped this year from being kind of angry Sean Payton, don't know he's got, we've got to make the playoffs this year, or if we don't, I'm going to be mad. To hey, we got competition, we're excited, there's a future here. What's the difference between Sean Payton from last year and this year, Jody? I'll go to you first.
I think it's two things. One, he came right out the gate and tried to clown Nathaniel Hackett for the horrible job he did, and when things weren't going the way Peyton wanted to, he had to eat a little crow with that. And for whatever reason, I mean, there's multiple reasons, and I'm not going down this rabbit hole, but Russell Wilson. Him and Russell Wilson did not click. He called Russell out from the very beginning. Whatever he about getting on social media and all this different stuff. I mean, he was all over Russell Wilson from day one. You take the Lions game. I never in 14 seasons or whatever it was seen him do that to Drew Brees. And to do that with Russell Wilson down there over something that, did we run the wrong, we didn't run the wrong play. We didn't, something like that. I mean, he had a hard on for whatever reason for Russell Wilson. And now that that's gone, he's got his guy in there and he can do what Bo Nix doesn't know any better. And he can tell Bo Nix what to do and what to run. And Bo Nix will throw over the middle and stand in the pocket. Russell Wilson will not. And I'm not bashing Russ for that. We knew what Russ was when he came here. We knew he held the ball too long. We knew what his faults were. Peyton wasn't going to adjust to that, and that was pretty obvious. Did he adjust some things? Yeah. But did he adjust even close to what fit Russ? No. And now that that's out of here, and knowing that we were still able to fill a decent 53-man roster, eating this cap, I think that is where that has made him happy, and he doesn't have to deal with that type of stuff every day.
I'll read Biggie Bronco's comment before I get into mine. I don't know if Biggie Bronco knows Jody, but it sure seems like he's trying to stir his pot a little bit. He says, I imagine by the end of training camp last year, he was frustrated with Russell Wilson because he couldn't get the playbook down. So he had to modify it to a high school playbook. So we'll save that for another day. But my thought is kind of along those lines, Trevor. I think the confidence comes from the fact that ownership did say, hey, man, you can go ahead and you can move on from Russell Wilson. We'll go ahead and we'll eat that $85 million dead cap. You go ahead and you pick your guy. And by all reports, his guys look pretty good so far through all the underwear Olympics we've put him through. So that being said, I think that Sean Payton has a little bit of confidence, a little bit of relax. And also remember, he went basically from Fox Sports to being thrown right into the mix of draft and everything and being, brought in as to the Denver Broncos really, really quick. This year now he got to have that natural timeline of the season ends and that your season's going to start again, you know what I mean? And you don't have all these other obligations and commitments. So I think he feels a little bit better that way. What are your thoughts, Trevor? You said you thought you had an obvious answer.
Yeah, so I think there's actually multiple different answers that you can go with this. I think, again, when you start a new job, you're not as comfortable, right? When you, over time, you start to get comfortable. I think that's what Sean Payton is getting through with this team here in Denver, not only just with the players and around the staff, but and around everybody in the building, but also the media and the fans and everything. He's really starting to warm up, it seems like, to Denver more. He wasn't really warmed up to Denver at first. And also, I do think that it's just a mixture of not just Russell Wilson, because I do think Russell Wilson, there was a factor in there with Russell Wilson, and it was just kind of a headache. It seemed like for Sean Payton and Russell Wilson relationship, it just never could coexist. But I think with Sean Payton, I think this is 2 years now. He's got his guys, right? He's got his guys on this team. Justin Simmons is gone. Russell Wilson's gone. A lot of these guys that were on this team before Sean Payton got in here, he got him out of here. He has the freedom to get him out of here. Him and George Payton both, I should say. I don't want to exclude George Payton in this conversation. He's absolutely part of this conversation. But Sean Payton, he's able to get his guys in the room, and that's, I think, what coaches definitely what they like, and I think they get comfortable with that eventually when they get their guys, not just one off season of their guys, but multiple off seasons of their players, their guys, into their locker room.
I like it, man. Man, I'll tell you what, man. The posse, you guys have been absolutely amazing this evening. I feel like we could go 2 hours. We do a 1 hour show. We're a little over as it is, man. But I got to give it up to Richie, Rich, and Biggie Bronco, who's been chatting it up as we get out of here a little bit as well. Pearl's coming in and was agreeing with us as well on some of these thoughts on Sean Payton, but I kind of like this one. If I can get it really quick, it says, he says, "Oops, Rich, I did it again. I done pissed somebody else off." I'll be honest. I think we all had slightly different opinions on Russell Wilson. We were talking right before the show. We got 5.5 weeks. We're not going to have a lot of talk. Trevor has some thoughts and speculations that some more contracts might be done and signed and made and the like. So we might be a little bit more busy than we expect. But that being said, I think we'll be able to get into a few of these older conversations if we want to and really get into it. So Biggie, Bronco, Richie, Rich. I know that we're maybe not getting into your part of the conversation this evening, but do me a favor, man. Tune back in. And this is a great transition as we kind of wrap up this evening. Denver Bronco Roundup is live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7 or 7:15 p.m., depending upon the evening, usually more around 7:15 at this point, on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, on Facebook, on YouTube, on the Denver Bronco Roundup Facebook page as well, if you want to tune in over there. And lots of different places and ways you can tune in. We're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. You head on over to the website. We cover all Colorado sports: Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, Rockies. Also, check out Morgan Trinkets. I'm going to be dropping that link in for you guys as well. So all your Southwest jewelry, pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices. And don't forget that sterling silver that starts just at $10. Free shipping over $50 if you're, transacting on Facebook, online, and free shipping if you're picking it up at one of our shows. So there you go. Guys, we got to get out of here. I'm going to go ahead and I'll scroll some comments, but I got to get some final thoughts. I'm going to start off with the judge himself, Jody Moncrief, just like we started the show. Jody, final thoughts before we get up. OTAs all wrapped up, 5.5 weeks till training camp. Lots of Broncos talk to still talk about, but a great evening of Broncos talk tonight. What do you got for us?
I'm just excited to see what Bo Nix can do. If what Peyton is saying is true, that he's well ahead of other quarterbacks and he's picking up on this offense, I'm excited to see what this offense lacked from last year, and someone that he handpicked, because I don't know, other than maybe winning a Super Bowl, how Russ was going to be back here next year. So, I mean, they butted head from day one, and I want to see quarterback and coach on the same page. I mean, when Russ throws a bomb 50 yards to Sutton against the Chargers and Peyton's pissed off about that, that there's problems. So that's where I'm excited. I wasn't the biggest Bo Nix fan, but I'm excited to see a quarterback that he handpicked that Peyton says can run his offense and do the things that were lacking last year. And let's see why he was really brought in, because of this offense.
Love it, buddy. Love it. Love the support. We are always going to support our orange and blue, our Denver Broncos, our Mile High brethren. Man, I can't wait for them to take the field this year, man. Sometimes we got to move on from players, even ones we love. But that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to support our team, man. And Trevor's going to go ahead and support me and Jody and all of you in the posse and give some final thoughts. What do you got for us, Trevor?
Yeah, guys. I mean, again, continue to tune in to Denver Bronco Roundup on Tuesdays and Friday nights. As of right now, all of our newcomers, the guys that are tuning in, keep in mind also when the regular season starts up again, we will be doing 3 shows a week. Pre-game, post-game show on top of our Tuesday show. So keep that in mind. It's really fun. Can't wait to hang out with you guys even then. It's going to be here before we know it, right? I mean, we say we're 5 weeks away, but we're going to be right around the corner from preseason, and then the regular season will starting again. So can't wait to hang out with you guys then. Just want to really appreciate everybody in the posse. Phil, thanks for sending stars as always. You're amazing. You guys are all amazing just for being here, supporting us, YouTube, Facebook, regardless of what it is. It's amazing. It means the world to us. Makes the conversation even better. You guys have great questions. If we have not got your questions tonight, save them. And then Tuesday night, we can get to them as well. We'll have plenty of time to talk Denver Broncos football with you guys. Again, we have 5 weeks here until training camp. Again, it starts up again in preseason. So definitely keep your questions coming for us. And we'll see you guys here on Tuesday. And just, again, thank you for everybody that's continuing to support us. We're continuing to grow, and our podcasts continue to grow and continue to bring great coverage for you guys. And just can't thank you guys enough. Truly appreciate it.
Yeah, well said, man. We appreciate the love, man. A lot of new faces. We continue to grow. It's all those likes, shares, subscribes that you guys do. Again, sharing that out to you guys know. You guys got buddies. You guys got friends. You got family members that love the Denver Broncos as well, whether they're tuned in every single show, whether they're tuned in once a month. It's great to grow our community, have great discussions, have great comments. We appreciate people like Phil that were able to drop stars. Like I said, more and bigger things to come. So, that helps support and get to the finish line some of those ideas that we have for you guys. Maybe give back to you guys a little bit more as well. So thank you guys all for a fantastic show again, every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, Denver Bronco Roundup, brought to you by Morgan Trinkets. We appreciate you guys so very much. Man, can't wait to talk to you guys all again on Tuesday. We're going to round out the show like we always do. Remember, keep your feet in the stirrups, keep your guns in your holsters, and remember, keep the Broncos in your hearts. Until next time, we're out here. Mile High salute. Good evening, everybody.